Today I'm going to talk about marriage. And this won't be a conversation that you hear every day. This might be something that you haven't ever heard. I'm going to talk about what is happening in society today, what is going on around us, causing the turmoil and the unrest and the war that we're seeing between the masculine and the feminine in gender dynamics, marriage between men and women, what's happening under the surface at a much deeper spiritual level. I believe we are spiritual beings here in these human bodies having a human experience. But what we see around us, what is happening physically in the 3D, is really mirroring something that is going on in the spiritual realm, energetically. So let's talk about where our society is right now. Everyone can feel that it doesn't feel peaceful. We see it across the board, politically, educationally, medically, economically, between countries, between men and women. There's so much turmoil and unrest and a warlike state. And when we look at marriage, what we're seeing is this shift happening. For thousands of years, we have been living in a world that's been operated by the wounded masculine. That is what patriarchy is. And the wounded masculine operates by force, by domination, by hierarchy. It requires a lower person to be submissive in order to maintain that power. And so what we have seen for thousands of years is the wounded masculine, particularly the white male, has dominated with aggression and force. And the wounded masculine is disconnected from his heart, because the heart is the feminine. The feminine is the heart, the nurturing, the love. And we see before patriarchy claimed ownership, we saw a world where matriarchal leadership was in play, where there was collaborative love that led. Because when we are in our divine essence, as divine spiritual beings, we live out of a state of love, meaning we are connected to our hearts and the God within us. The patriarchy is disconnected from its heart, from the ultimate source of love. So women have been subjugated within this system under the wounded masculine for centuries. So what we see with women is women primarily operating out of her wounded feminine, because she has been forced to subjugate herself to this system where women were property and relied upon a man to survive, for her basic needs to be met because of the order with which it was set up. And the wounded feminine is one who needs someone to save her. She needs rescuing. She abandons her heart, her essence, her identity, her sense of self, and she overfunctions. She overgives. So when we look at marriage, what has happened? A woman was reliant upon marriage in order to be economically stable. I mean, women couldn't even get credit cards until 1974 or 5. I mean, I'm 43. My mother, her generation was the first generation of women who were able to get some sense of financial freedom outside of relying on a man, on the wounded masculine. And so we are living in a very young time in this earthly realm of the feminine, who is coming back into touch with her true divine feminine and not needing to operate in her wounded feminine, losing her identity in order to stay safe, in order to survive this world. And what we see today is women who are returning to the truth about who she is. If you look at every religion, it has a story that teaches women to be subjugated to men. It teaches women that her role is always to serve, to, in a sense, be lesser than, to be quiet, to let a man dominate. And this is the wounded, this is patriarchy that used religion to tell women that this was their godly role. And this is why traditional religions were not built or designed in the truth of the divine feminine. It was designed to keep women subjugated. And that is what marriage was built upon. Marriage as a contract was built to ensure men had access to heirs and to reproduction. It was not designed or built to build the feminine in her true essence, in her truth and her power. It was designed to serve and support the man. And what we are seeing energetically now is women are coming to a place where we are shifting the world and the power. Women are removing themselves from this patriarchal paradigm, this marriage structure, this marriage contract, and she is returning to her sense of self. Now, this doesn't mean that she doesn't want relationship with the masculine. Women very much collaborate and love and nurture because that is the truth of our divine nature as the feminine. But she is seeing the truth that the masculine is operating so much out of the wounding that he does not know how to connect with her heart. 70% of marriages are being ended by women. We see what conservatives mainly are calling an epidemic, a marital crisis. Women are not getting married. And we see a large shift of blame on women and this desire to return to traditional ways. And when people in society are talking about returning to traditional views of marriage, they are resisting the crumbling of this paradigm that was built to serve the wounded masculine. So we hear the cries of return to the 50s, and this is when it was ordered, and couples were committed to each other, and society had greater order and structure. But in truth, the only order it supported was this wounded masculine power over dominating aggressive type of leadership. The only reason marriages looked idyllic was because women didn't have enough rights or economic freedom or abilities to step out of that paradigm and still survive economically. And so women largely were self-abandoning, over-functioning. What we're seeing today is women speaking up about the unequal mental load, about the emotional unavailability of men, about feeling used and taken advantage of, and porn culture, and women feeling like objects that are being used by men. But what is happening is women are waking up to see that she does not need to exist in that paradigm any longer. And it is not that men are bad. It is not that men are just evil, but men have been under this energetic spell, this wounded masculine for so long that he doesn't know another way to operate because patriarchy told him that he was weak unless he was these specific rigid ideals. He was no emotion. He had to be aggressive and dominant and power over. And that's what a lot of men believe they need to be to have their own sense of self. And women, our power is in our heart leadership. We have so misconstrued what power is because for so long we have seen power through the lens of the masculine. We live in our hearts intuitively, but the heart has been shunned in a society that values doing and productivity and winning and dominating. And what women are saying is waking up and breaking the spell and saying, we will no longer live in the self-abandoning identity of the wounded feminine. So women are leaving churches because we're beginning to see the truth of my divine inherent feminine nature is not one of submission and self-abandonment in order to serve the man. And as Christians will teach that the man is the head of the woman. These are all patriarchal paradigms created by the wounded masculine. So we are exiting these paradigms, and we are removing ourselves and saying, I'm returning to the divine feminine within me. I am in my heart. I lead intuitively with my higher self, the God within me. Men are not the problem. Men have been conditioned to live in his wounded masculine. And so they are harming and perpetrating that harm on women. And women, we have carried such a low sense of self-worth for so long because we have been conditioned to believe we are victims of this paradigm and powerless. But I have walked through it in my own relationship, my own marriage, where it fell apart. And I had my own wounding that allowed me to attract the emotionally unavailable. When we have not healed our own wounds about our worth, and we stay in a powerless, this is what I did. I was in a powerless victim energy because I was wounded by my father. I saw my mother controlled financially and emotionally by my father and the narcissistic traits. And so there are so many women that I know are just like me, that are awakening through the collapse of your marriage. And what I did for a long time was I lived in the victim energy. Well, he needs to change. He needs to grow up. If he starts doing this, then this all could be better. But here's our role. And I'm going to speak to you, the woman, the divine within you. Your role is to return to your sense of self, to end the self-abandonment by needing him to save you by being better. So what's happening is women, you're pulling back your energy and focusing your energy on building your sense of self, returning to your sense of self-worth. And this is the part in marriages where a lot of women struggle, and I struggled here for a long time. If you are in a marriage to a man who isn't his wounded masculine, wanting you to save him, and you're trying to get him to read, and you're trying to talk to him, and you're trying to plead to him and nag him and control him and yell at him, and he only uses that against you more, and he appears more and more unavailable, it's because you're giving this energy of, I need you to be different or I can't feel better. When in reality, we as women in these situations, in these marriages, are the divine leader. And what I mean by that is when we take the power and women are removing the feminine comforts. See what I did? You have to remove the feminine comforts from a man because it helps him to see himself in the mirror. And men have not needed to shift out of this old wounded paradigm because women keep coming in and saving and controlling, but we're not really saving him. We're just trying to get him to love us, get him to do these things, to keep ourselves safe. But it's not our role. That's our wounded feminine, and it's perpetuating this old paradigm. Society is shifting into a higher consciousness led by love, not by fear. And what we are doing as women is we are removing those feminine comforts which men were conditioned to believe they were entitled to. Your service, all your energy and attention placed on him, your body for his pleasure. When we remove these feminine comforts, men as a whole begin to have to wake up. They begin to wake up because it is only when the comforts are removed that we sort of start to see what's going on here. I'm not comfortable anymore. And so we see women are not getting married, and there's this resistance, and society is crying out, what's happening? Women are not getting married. Men are so depressed. So there's this pull energetically on society for women to return to these roles, return to the way it was. You're not giving him what he needs. And women, when we are in our wounded, we think, oh, okay, I need to serve him more. I need to love him more. If I did more, then he would be different. No. See, this is what we see the problems with marital therapy, with traditional psychology, with most advice to women is be kinder, show more respect, love him more, just give him that nurturing. Even when I was in the Christian church, it was a lot of give him grace, show him love, and he will ascend and grow up and mature and become what it is you desire. But that view is very, very flawed. It enables him to stay in the place of wounded masculine, which is the man who only knows how to force and dominate, and he lacks vulnerability. He lacks the ability to go into his own heart because she continues to save him and make it where he does not have to shift his own patterns. So I'm here to show you that your role is to end the pattern of self-abandoning and saving him and needing him to be a certain way before you move into your power. Remember, your power comes from your ability to return to your frame, to stand steady. This is our leadership as women. We are the leaders that are moving our society and shifting out of the paradigm. We are meant as the masculine and feminine to complement our energies, to co-create a society built on collaboration, on love, and on service to all. And so we are seeing this patriarchal paradigm crumbling in real time. But there's going to be a lot of resistance. And the resistance right now is the pressure on women to return to the old ways. That's why we even see like the trad wife and the feminists. And there's this war going on because there's this shift and women are discovering, where is my true nature? Who am I as the divine? The truth about who you are is that you are love and you are a leader and you are meant to equally co-create with the masculine. And it's going to require these paradigms to crumble. So it's going to require us as women to shift into our seat of power, our heart. And so what I do is I stand in my frame and I say that I love men. But the masculine does not have access to me as the feminine in my divine nature unless he's meeting me. So we hold our standard because of how we view ourselves. We see ourselves in our full inherent worth. And we only allow access to ourselves from a man, a masculine, Who is able to energetically and emotionally meet us? So we have to hold our ground, which means that women are getting married less right now because there's a mismatch. And as the men break free from this old spell and he begins to see his true nature, his divine masculine is one of protection, of strength, of the physical characteristic of strength, and to build up the heart of the feminine, to build up the heart, to support the heart in its full expression. And the divine masculine loves to give to the feminine. He loves to do that. That men love to give and produce for women. But we have such a backwards view right now, and where women are constantly giving to men, and she's not in her receiving nature. It's not safe for her to operate in her heart. This is what's happening, and this is what's going on under the surface of marriages. So women are pulling away. Men are not sure. Men are lost because he has relied upon her for so long to be his connection in some capacity. We are shifting in our society. And it's going to take some time because these old ideologies, these old beliefs, even religion as it was, is crumbling as we move into the truly awakened world, who we are, and we begin to see through a new lens where we are co-leading. So it's gonna be shaky for a while. And as women, we just continue to hold our ground and pour into ourselves, become self-devoted, self-love, because the more you love yourself, the higher your standard is going to be for where you place your energy and who has access to you. Because we have this powerful, beautiful life force as women, as the feminine. And when we pour it out, we bring life and we nurture wherever that goes. But if we put it into the wrong places, or places that are not able to meet us, then that pulls from us, that steals our life force. So we must take care of where we put our energy. And so I hope that you see some of this a little more clearly, and don't get lost and caught up in a lot of the low frequency, low energy stuff you see on social media. And this isn't to say all men, because there are many men who are awakened and aware and who see this. Beautiful men, because men are a beautiful species. And this comes from someone who, for a long time, I've lived in a very wounded belief system about men. My work has been learning to return to my own self, reparent those wounds, and stop abandoning myself. So if you're in this needing energy and you're looking for a man to do better, to get better, to be available so that you feel better, we need to change that pattern, because you are the one. You can in-source your own self-worth when you begin to reparent the wound within you, a father wound, abandonment wounds, not receiving the heart of a healthy man who mirrored your worth to you. So you continue to look for a man to mirror your worth to you, but he will never be able to do that. You are your own loving parent. And as you remother your pain and you speak truth and you build a new empowering belief system about your worth, you will no longer be relying on him to try to mirror your worth to you. And that will allow you to stand in your true feminine power and strength. And if you feel trapped right now, I want you to know that you can begin by changing your thoughts about your worth, reparenting yourself, and changing your beliefs about what is available to you and your inherent worthiness. And everything starts with the stories we tell ourselves. So if you have stories that are disempowering, that's leading you to continue living in these patterns. So go back in and start to listen to what stories you're telling yourself based on past events. That's where we return to our true power as women. So I want you to hold on to that. And remember, you are so powerful, and we are shifting this earth. And you have the power to create a beautiful world. I love you.